Right, so, well done.
Thank you.
First, let's start with Checo, and then we'll get into the pit stop timings, etc., etc. Yeah, you've got to doff your cap to him, or we were just doffing your cap.
I mean, he's had a sensational weekend. He's always been outstanding at this track. I don't know what it is about Azerbaijan, but he absolutely excels here. And you know, he got a little lucky with the safety car today. But then he converted that, and he pulled a gap, and he had the pace, and really controlled the race. So you know, phenomenal drive by him all weekend.
Accident happened behind you, and then Max came into the pits. I mean, it seemed like he was struggling a little bit on the mediums. Did that precipitate that stop? Could you have held off, do you think?
It was the optimum time to stop, you know, from a performance point of view. But then, you know, De Vries hasn't hit the wall there. The engine is still running. And to us, it looked like he was just going to you know, reverse out, you know, and go from there. So that we'd already committed to the stop. And of course, 2020 vision, 2020 hindsight is always to say woulda, shoulda, coulda. But you know, sometimes things like that just don't go your way. And it, you know, his misfortune was Checo's good fortune.
Now, Max seemed to be complaining a little bit about, you know, his rears at that time, but we've also seen in this race that the hards went pretty much the entire distance of the race, which was quite surprising. How much of that comes down to this format that we have this weekend, and how maybe setups are compromised this weekend when you only have one free practice?
Well, from the point that you go into the first qualifying on Friday, you're not allowed to touch the car other than the front wing and the tyre pressure. So yeah, that puts a huge emphasis. You just don't know the conditions. You don't get any long runs. So it's a little bit of a voyage of the unknown. So he was playing around with the tools that he had in the car, and I think he was able in the back end of the race to find, or certainly last 10 laps, some settings that he was happy with, and then the lap times were competitive. But you know, it's the same for everybody. And I think Checo today, you know, hats off to him. He really did a super job.
Not to take anything away from what Checo did at all, but do you think that that Max has been totally on form this week? And he came into it a little bit negative about the sprint, and maybe he talked himself out of it. Do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, what you got to think as well. I mean, he was obviously leading the Grand Prix. Then the incident, you know, happened. I think that he didn't seem quite as comfortable with the setup of his car as Checo did. You know, he was obviously talking about the rear tyres already prior to that stop, and I think that, you know, track position when you're in the dirty air, there wasn't a lot of overtaking in that race, and that probably didn't hurt his tyres as well. Is
that perhaps something that can be looked at if they're going to do this sprint format again, as whether or not you can make some adjustments to the car a bit more?
I think the sprint format, you know, on the whole, I think there's a lot of positives to take out of the weekend, and you know, the fact that we've scored bar 2 points, you know, maximum score from this weekend, and but I think, you know, things like Q3 without the option to pick your tyres for the Saturday sprint race, I think that needs tidying up, and I think there should be some variability perhaps allowed into setup, that Parc Fermé perhaps shouldn't be quite as rigid as it currently is.
Now, just touching on the dirty air topic, we heard some drivers after Saudi complaining that maybe this year the dirty air was affecting them more than it did last season after the changes with the ride height. Is that something that you guys have noticed from your side as well?
Definitely the cars, you know, inevitably they've come slightly more sensitive, but I think one of the big factors in the race here compared to previous years is we've taken 100 metres off the DRS. So that, you know, that has had an effect. Maybe we need to chop in half and say put 50 back in, but there seemed to be very little overtaking.
They take it all away completely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
there seemed to be very little overtaking in that race compared to previous years here.
Yeah. Okay. So we throw it forward now. You've got 6 points between your two drivers, a couple of wins apiece. How do you keep the peace? Actually, they seemed really good after it. I think Max was fairly all right. Fair enough. This thing.
He was. You know, he's fine. He knows sometimes you know things can go like that, and it can go the other way as well. And I think we've got, what, 19 races, 5 more sprint races to go. There is a long way, and I think that, you know, we know the other teams will come with upgrades to Europe, so, you know, we're just going to keep the hammer down, keep trying to get these results, and that was our 25th, you know, 1-2 finish as a team. So, you know, great to get those points early in this championship.
We can't keep you. You've got to pack, haven't you, and go to Miami?
Yeah.
Go straight away to that. I do need to ask you, though, I mean, it appeared like there were mechanics or team members on the, well, not pit wall, but on the fencing again, and we know that they're getting a little bit tight on that, and the regulations
They
have
are, but the
changed
regulations, I think, are quite clear, and it was, you know, the team manager discussed it with the mechanics before the race. And I think if you look, they're all got their feet in contact with the concrete of the pit wall. So that's it's crazy when we're getting into regulating where the feet of the mechanics are. But I think you'll find they were all standing where they should be.
That said, though, we saw the photographers coming in before on that last lap when Esteban.
Yeah, that's something that needs a review, because Esteban's within his rights to pit on the last lap and finish the race in the pit lane, I think, if he wanted to.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Otherwise we'd been disqualified for the race. I mean, that could have been extremely nasty. I mean, look at that. It's
that's something that the FIA needs before the end of a race.
We used to go down the pit lane about 150 miles an hour before we...
Yeah, exactly.
So you used to have no pit lane speed limiter as well.
That was just after the war, wasn't it, Damon?
Final one, Miami. What are you expecting? You expecting to dominate there like you have here?
Look, Miami, different challenge, humid, hot, different surface. I think they've resurfaced parts of the track there, and again, a track that you can overtake at. So we expect Ferrari to be strong there again, particularly on Saturday, and then we'll see how these tyres behave on a Sunday.
Pack your Hawaiian shirts. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Christian. There we go. Okay, so.